On the dry, sun-scorched outskirts of Bethlehem, a heartbreaking scene unfolded under a blistering desert sky. The winds were still, the earth silent. But inside Jacob's caravan, there was chaos. A woman's anguished cry pierced the silence. Rachel, the beloved wife of Jacob, was in the throes of childbirth. Her body was racked with pain as she labored to deliver her second child. Each breath she drew was heavier than the last. The women around her exchanged nervous glances, whispering prayers. Outside the tent, Jacob stood helpless, heart pounding with fear. There was nothing he could do, no sacrifice, no plea that could take her pain away. Then suddenly, a fragile sound broke the tension, the first cry of a newborn child. A son was born, but joy was short-lived. In that same moment, Rachel's strength was slipping away. Her eyes, once filled with dreams of a growing family, now stared beyond the living. With trembling lips, she whispered a name, Ben-Oni, son of my sorrow. And with that final breath, Rachel's soul departed. Jacob wept. The woman he had waited 14 long years to marry, the love of his life, was gone. But this was not just the end of Rachel's story. It was the beginning of a mystery. Why did she have to die? Was it mere tragedy or divine consequence? Today, we're diving deep into this powerful biblical story to uncover what may have really happened to Rachel and what her life and death teach us. So if you're moved by these ancient stories of faith, love, and loss, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Let's begin. Rachel's story is one of the most touching love stories in all of Scripture. Jacob, fleeing from the fury of his brother Esau, journeyed to a distant land called Haran. There, at a well where shepherds gathered, he first laid eyes on Rachel. She was tending her father's sheep, moving with a quiet grace that made time stop for Jacob. Without hesitation, he approached, rolled away the heavy stone from the well, and helped water her flock. This act of strength and service wasn't just impressive, it was the beginning of something eternal. Rachel ran home to tell her father Laban of this mysterious man's arrival. When Laban realized it was his nephew, he welcomed Jacob warmly, but Jacob's heart had already been captured. "I will work 7 years for you," Jacob told Laban, "in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage." And he did. Day after day, year after year, fueled by love. To Jacob, the years felt like days, but when the long-awaited wedding night came, Laban betrayed him. He disguised Leah, Rachel's older sister, and gave her to Jacob instead. By the time Jacob realized the deception, it was too late. Enraged but undeterred, Jacob agreed to work another 7 years. Finally, he married Rachel. She was his heart, his chosen bride, the one he had endured everything for. But love alone couldn't erase the tension that followed. Jacob now had 2 wives, and while he loved Rachel deeply, it was Leah who bore him sons first. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Each birth drove a wedge deeper between the sisters. Rachel's womb remained closed, and her heart began to break. One day, in raw desperation, she cried out to Jacob, "Give me children, or I'll die." Genesis 30:1. It was a chilling statement, one that some believed would later come true, in a devastating way. In a culture where motherhood was a mark of honor and purpose, Rachel felt empty. In an effort to compete, she offered her maidservant Bilhah to Jacob, a common custom in the ancient world. Bilhah bore Dan and Naphtali in Rachel's name. Leah, not to be outdone, gave Jacob her maid Zilpah, who bore Gad and Asher. The rivalry escalated. In a strange moment of negotiation, Rachel traded a night with Jacob for a handful of mandrakes, an ancient herb believed to aid in fertility. But even these superstitions didn't work, not immediately. Then finally, at long last, Scripture tells us, God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and opened her womb. Genesis 30:22. Rachel gave birth to her first son, Joseph. It was a moment of pure triumph. God has taken away my disgrace, she said, naming him Joseph, meaning may he add, a hopeful name, signaling her desire for more children. Joseph would go on to become one of the most important figures in Israel's history, rising to power in Egypt and saving his people during famine. But for Rachel, Joseph was the beginning of hope. Years passed. Jacob, following God's command, left Laban and began the journey back to Canaan. By this time, Rachel was once again pregnant, her dream of another child finally fulfilled. But fate had other plans. As the caravan neared Ephrath, later known as Bethlehem, Rachel went into labor. The terrain was rough, the conditions were primitive, and Rachel's body was already weakened from years of struggle. Genesis 35 paints the haunting scene. Rachel began to give birth and had great difficulty. As she was having great difficulty in childbirth, the midwife said to her, "Don't be afraid, for you have another son." Genesis 35:16-17. But Rachel was fading. With her last breath, she named him Ben-Oni, son of my sorrow. Jacob, overcome with grief, renamed the boy Benjamin, son of my right hand. It was a name of honor, of strength, a name to carry Rachel's legacy forward with hope, not despair. To this day, the cause of Rachel's death is debated. Some scholars believe it was simply the result of childbirth complications in a harsh environment, but others suggest deeper spiritual implications. When Rachel stole her father Laban's household idols, Jacob, unaware of her actions, swore, "Whoever took your gods shall not live." Genesis 31:32. Some believe these words, though spoken in ignorance, sealed Rachel's fate. Could Jacob's declaration have inadvertently cursed the woman he loved? Others argue that Rachel's theft of the idols was an act of idolatry, an offense against God. In this view, her death may have been divine judgment, but the Bible never explicitly links the two. Was God punishing Rachel? Or was this simply human tragedy woven into a larger divine plan? And then there's Rachel's own haunting words, "Give me children or I'll die." Was this a desperate cry or a prophecy fulfilled? Did her deep yearning somehow shape her destiny? Rachel was buried near Bethlehem, and Jacob erected a pillar over her grave, a monument of love and loss. Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, and to this day, her tomb remains. Genesis 35:19-20. From her son Benjamin came a mighty tribe, the tribe of Benjamin, from which Saul, Israel's first king, would arise. And generations later, a Pharisee named Saul of Tarsus, the Apostle Paul, would also come from her line. Rachel's life, though short, echoed through centuries. Her faith, her pain, her longing, they shaped a nation. Rachel's story is more than a tale of heartbreak. It's a mirror to our own struggles with hope, waiting, loss, and purpose. She reminds us that even those most loved by God suffer, and that even in death there can be destiny. Her final moments, marked by agony, gave birth to a legacy that would bless generations. And her cries, just like the cries of so many today, did not go unheard. So now I ask you, do you believe Rachel's death was part of a divine plan? Was it prophecy, punishment, or pure tragedy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If this story moved you, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful biblical journeys. Thank you for watching. Take care and God bless you.